One of our most senior Labour MPs joins me, Chesterfield's Labour MP, Toby Perkins. Good morning, Toby.
Morning, Ian.
Let's deal with what happened yesterday, because the news made a right odd hoo-ha out of this. There's this vote on the Privileges Committee last night. Front page of the Times today is Labour MPs whipped to Keir Starmer feel complicit in a cover-up. Do you feel complicit in a cover-up?
Not remotely. I think there's an absolute storm in a teacup. You know, we had the evidence last week from the Foreign Office Select Committee, where the former Under Secretary at the Foreign Office, Sir Ollie Robbins, and the Permanent Secretary at the Cabinet Office, Cat Little, both stated that due process was followed. We also had these documents being released that showed that the former Cabinet Secretary at the time, Sir Chris Wormold, also wrote to the Prime Minister to say that due process was followed. And now we have the opposition saying, well, we don't think due process was followed, and the Prime Minister lied when he said it was. Well, you know, I have to say that I think my constituents absolutely look through this and see it for exactly what it is, which is a political stunt in the run-up to these local elections. And I had no compunction whatsoever in supporting that be thrown out.
You say, you know, playing politics, nothing to see here, people are interested in different issues. It's all very similar to what the Conservatives were saying when, you know, they were after Boris Johnson for misleading Parliament.
Well, it's actually nothing like that, because, and I think this is really important, that, you know, what we found with Boris Johnson and the party, Boris Johnson didn't lose his seat as Prime Minister because he had parties. He lost his seat as Prime Minister because he lied to the House on numerous occasions, the most serious and gravest offence that a politician can commit in Parliament. And when he had opportunities to set the record straight, he failed to do so. Now, the opposition successfully persuaded the House that we should have full disclosure of the whole process to do with Peter Mandelson. We knew when we agreed to that disclosure that it would keep this issue running on for many weeks ahead, and they hoped within that they would find a smoking bullet, a smoking gun, that they would find that the Prime Minister had been advised not to do this, had been told about this security briefing, and had chosen to cover it up. Actually, the documents have found the absolute opposite. Okay. And when the documents provide the opposite, they instead say, well, let's have an inquiry anyway, because if you've done nothing wrong, then it will find you innocent. So I reject that, and I absolutely reject. You know, Boris Johnson was the first Prime Minister ever to be referred to the Privileges Committee, and we can't get into a situation where every Prime Minister following that gets referred, even if the documentation proves that they were telling the truth.
So you're absolutely, and I expected nothing else, I said to you off the air, loyal to Keir Starmer right now on this one, and in the vote last night. One of the times in recent months we spoke to you, Toby, it was when you had rebelled over welfare cuts, which feels sort of several crises ago now. Do you not... I mean, what is the mood in the party? The people aren't making it up that there are mumblings and grumblings, right?
Well, listen, mumblings and rumblings, absolutely, and clearly we're doing poorly in the polls. There's issues that we need to get better at, but that is different.
Are they issues of leadership, Toby?
Well, I want to deal with this first, because it is important that the issue of whether the Prime Minister lied to the House is one of the gravest severity. And what we can't do is just say, all right, well, fair enough, he hasn't lied to the House, but what about his general performance? His general performance and whether he should be referred to the Privileges Committee are two very, very different things. Now, returning to the point of his performance, I actually thought the government had got it wrong on the welfare, spoke out for that, and I will continue to do so if there's other things that we getting wrong. I'm pleased that the government stepped back on that one. There have been U-turns. I wish we made the right decisions in the first place sometimes. And Keir Starmer, I think...
When does it start looking like a pattern, though, of getting things wrong?
Well, you know, I have to accept that there's been a number of U-turns, and I have to, you know, I would always rather we ended up in the right place, but I wish even more than that we've made the right decision in the first place. I think there's a tremendous amount this government has got right. I think it is being overshadowed by noises off to do with issues like Peter Mandelson, which was a grave error. I don't dispute that for a second, but it is important that we don't allow the political games around the issue of whether he has told the truth to be sort of merged with other rumblings about, well, should he have done this or that?
Can I play you a very short clip of, I mean, actually, we had him on to talk about something else last week, about running the marathon, but Matthew Parris was on for a chat, and I know he's a former Conservative MP, but he's a fairly sturdy and balanced commentator on politics these days. I asked him about Keir Starmer, and he said...
Oh, he's finished. That doesn't mean he's going to resign today or tomorrow or even in the next few months, but his credibility has all gone. His own party, I could be fairly sure on the backbenches of the Labour Party, is in a mood of close to despair.
A mood of close to despair, Toby? You keep denying it, but lots of people keep saying it about the backbenchers.
Well, I mean, you're right. Matthew Parris is a former Conservative MP who I suspect has very few contacts on the backbenches of the Labour Party. I think the Labour Party and the Conservative Party are different. They are much more mutinous than us. We do broadly respect our leaders. We recognise Keir Starmer was a man who took over the Labour Party at the lowest ebb after our worst defeat in history and led us to our biggest victory in history, and so he does deserve a bit of space. That doesn't mean he's got nothing wrong. I've been a critic of him on occasions, but he does also deserve the space to turn it round. And if ultimately his performance is such that it is likely to undermine the successes that we've had and to undermine the reason for a Labour government, then I'm sure people will relook at that at that moment. But I think he has earned the right, particularly because of the way he's handled issues like Iran, because of the investment he's got into our National Health Service, which I'm seeing on a daily basis is improving. He does deserve the right to put things right.
If there really aren't factions plotting mutiny, why this morning is it rumoured he's talking about a post-election reshuffle and bringing the likes of Angela Rayner back into cabinet?
Well, firstly, it will be a matter for the Prime Minister about whether we have a reshuffle, and quite possibly we will do. I mean, most Prime Ministers do. I think it's no secret that we're expecting difficult election results in May.
That might be an understatement.
And I'm not saying that there are. I'm not saying. Well, it may well be. I'm not saying that there are no factions that are all sat in dark corners plotting. That's pretty much a perennial of politics. What I am saying is that the idea that MPs are all in total despair and simply yearning for the day that Keir Starmer's gone is not true. The majority of Labour MPs do want to give him time to get things right, to bring about the agenda that he was elected on, and ultimately, I hope that he is able to perform, because I think there is a lot this government's doing that we should be welcoming.
You told us a while back that you thought the government needed to just get better at communicating the good things. And I believe Keir Starmer's had 6 directors of communication since you said that. I mean, when does it start looking like he's the problem?
Well, I mean, it's I still stand by the fact that when you have, as we did this month, really positive economic figures showing growth at 0.5%. We see unemployment falling. We saw that NHS waiting times are falling every single month in a huge variety of ways. This is a government that is delivering, and yet we aren't talking about that. You do come back and say, well, can't we communicate these messages better? I have to say, I think that we do have a hostile media that is looking to sort of undermine those successes, and that's not to say that we've got nothing wrong. But if at the end of February we had growth not at 0.5%, but a recession of 0.5%, if we'd had unemployment not falling below 5%, but going above 7%, I think we'd have been all over the media. But because it's good news, you almost never hear about it. So, I think it is important we communicate this message. It's for all of us in the Labour Party to do so. And of course, there will be some who, row furiously in the wrong direction. But I think the vast majority of us are united and are determined to try and enact the mandate that we got in the general election just 2 years ago.
And when the next general election comes around, Toby, do you believe Keir Starmer will be Prime Minister?
Well, I hope he will be, and I think it's perfectly possible that he will be. If he's not, then of course we'll move on and we'll support the new leader. He does need to be given time to fulfil the mandate that he got. We always knew the early months were going to be difficult, and we've not been proved wrong on that. We inherited a very, very difficult situation with public services on their knees and the economy in a very difficult state. We've had Trump's wall undermining the recovery. And so he has been dealt with really tough hand. And he does need to be given a bit of space to put things right.
Toby, good to talk to you. Thanks for coming on.
Likewise, thanks, Ian.
Toby Perkins, thank you. Labour MP for Chesterfield.